The moment I stepped out of the airport, my mom hugged me like she had missed me for years. But 3 hours later, she handed me a list and told me she was leaving the country the next morning. Not with me, without me, and that I was only there to babysit. I stood in the living room, still holding my suitcase, trying to understand what she had just said. At first, I thought I heard her wrong. Maybe I was tired from the long flight. Maybe my brain was slow. But then she smiled and said it again, softer this time, like it would hurt less. "Sweetheart, we've planned this trip for months. I thought you'd understand. You're so responsible, and your little cousins need someone they trust." That word, responsible, it felt like a quiet way of saying useful. I hadn't been home in almost 2 years. I live in another country now, working long hours, saving money, trying to build something for myself. Flights are expensive. Time off is hard to get. I said no to vacations, no to friends, no to rest, just so I could come home for the holidays. Because she asked me, because she said, "I miss you. It won't feel like Christmas without you." I believed her. I imagined warm dinners. I imagined sitting next to her on the couch, watching old shows like we used to. I imagined feeling like I still had a place in that house. Instead, I was standing there, holding a babysitting schedule. "There are only 3 kids," she said casually, like that made it better. "They're good kids. You won't have any trouble. 3 kids, ages 4, 6, and 9. Full of energy, loud, needy, and I hadn't even unpacked my bag yet." "Wait," I said slowly. "You're leaving. Tomorrow?" She nodded. "Early morning. Your uncle and I already booked everything. It's just for 10 days. 10 days. I had only taken 2 weeks off work. That meant almost my entire trip was already decided for me, without me." I looked at her, searching her face for something. Guilt, hesitation, anything. But she just looked calm, like this was normal, like I should be happy to help. "I thought I was coming home to spend time with you," I said quietly. "You are," she replied quickly. "Just in a different way. Family helps family. Family helps family." That sentence has been used on me my whole life. Every time I said I was tired, every time I said I had plans, every time I tried to say no. I swallowed the lump in my throat and looked down at the list she gave me. Meal times, bedtimes, emergency numbers, even notes about what each child likes to eat. She had planned everything, except telling me the truth before I got on that plane. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I asked. She sighed, like I was the one making things difficult. "Because I knew you'd overthink it, and I didn't want you to say no." That hurt more than anything else. Not the babysitting, not the sudden plan, but the fact that she knew I might say no, and chose to take that choice away from me. I felt something inside me go quiet. Not loud anger, not tears, just silence. The kind of silence that happens when you finally understand your place in someone's life. I nodded slowly. "Okay, that's all I said. Because what else could I say? If I argued, she would say I was selfish. If I refused, she would say I abandoned family. If I cried, she would say I was overreacting. So I did what I always did. I stayed quiet. That night, I lay in my old bed, staring at the ceiling. The same ceiling I used to look at as a child, dreaming about leaving one day. I guess I had forgotten why I wanted to leave in the first place. Around midnight, I heard her laughing on the phone in the next room. She sounded happy, excited, free. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but my mind kept replaying everything. The call she made weeks ago. "Please come home," she said. It means so much to me. The way I smiled when I booked the ticket. The way I told my friends. I finally get to go home. Home. I don't think I understood that word anymore. The next morning I woke up early. Not because I wanted to, but because the house was already loud. Suitcases rolling. Voices calling. Kids running. My mom knocked on my door lightly and walked in without waiting. "Good morning," she said cheerfully. "We're almost ready." "We, not including me." I sat up slowly. "You're really going?" "Of course," she said like it was obvious. "Everything is booked." She walked over and placed an envelope on my bed. "This is for groceries and anything you need," she said. "And don't worry, the kids are easy." I picked up the envelope but didn't open it. Money didn't fix what this felt like. It didn't fix the fact that I had been lied to, used, managed. "Did you ever think about asking me first?" I asked quietly. She paused for a second, then smiled again. "I knew you'd help. You always do." And there it was. Not trust. Not love, expectation. She leaned down and kissed my forehead, like she used to when I was a child. "Be a good girl," she said softly. Then she walked out. I sat there, frozen, listening to the sound of the front door closing. And just like that, I was alone. Not in the peaceful way, but in the kind of way where you realize that even when people are around you, you don't really matter. A few minutes later, the kids burst into my room without knocking. "Are you the babysitter?" the youngest one asked. I looked at him. Then I forced a small smile. "I guess I am." And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like a decision being made, without words. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. This time, I wasn't going to stay the same. The first day felt longer than the entire year I had just lived. The kids were not easy. They were loud from the moment they woke up until the moment they fell asleep. The youngest cried over everything. The middle one refused to listen. The oldest acted like I didn't exist unless he needed something. By noon, I hadn't even had breakfast. I stood in the kitchen, trying to prepare something simple, while one of them pulled at my shirt and another argued loudly in the living room. My head started to hurt, but I stayed quiet, because that's what I always did. I handled things. I adjusted. I made it work. But this time something felt different. Every time one of them called my name, I didn't feel patience. I felt used. I kept thinking about my mom, probably sitting somewhere peaceful, maybe by a beach, laughing, resting, while I was here, doing a job I never agreed to. And the worst part? She knew I wouldn't say no. That thought stayed with me the entire day. In the afternoon, I finally sat down for a few minutes while the kids were distracted with a cartoon. My body felt heavy. My mind even heavier. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. "Hope everything is going well. Don't forget to give them dinner at 6. I stared at the message for a long time. Not a single thank you. Not a single "I'm sorry." Just instructions. I typed a reply, then deleted it. Typed again, then deleted it. In the end, I just put my phone down without answering. For the first time in a long time, I didn't respond immediately. That small moment felt strange, but also a little powerful. The evening came and I followed the schedule she gave me. Dinner, bath time, bedtime. It took hours. By the time the last child fell asleep, it was almost 10 p.m. I walked back into the living room and sat down slowly. The house was finally quiet, but my mind wasn't. I looked around. Nothing in this house had changed. The same furniture, the same walls, the same feeling. Like I was just passing through. I remembered being younger, helping my mom with everything. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of relatives' kids. She used to say, "You're the only one I can rely on." At that time, it felt like love. Now it felt like a role I never chose. I leaned back and closed my eyes. And for the first time that day, I let myself feel everything. The disappointment, the anger, the quiet hurt that had been building for years. But something else was there, too. Clarity. I realized this wasn't just about this trip. This wasn't just about babysitting. This was about a pattern where I gave and she took, where I adjusted and she expected more, where I stayed quiet and she made decisions for me and I allowed it. That truth was hard to accept, but it was also freeing, because if I allowed it, maybe I could stop allowing it. I opened my eyes slowly, and that same quiet feeling from yesterday came back, but this time it was clearer, stronger. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, grabbing the envelope she had given me in the morning. I opened it. There was cash inside, more than I expected, enough to cover groceries, and more. I counted it once, then again. Then I looked at the list she left on the counter. Every detail planned, every moment controlled, except one thing: me. That night I didn't go to sleep right away. Instead, I sat with my phone and started searching. Flights, schedules, options. At first, it felt crazy. I had just arrived. But then I remembered, I never chose to be here like this. And something inside me whispered, "You don't have to stay." I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart was beating faster, not out of fear, but out of something else, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. I didn't book anything yet, not that night. But the idea stayed, and it didn't leave. The next morning, everything repeated again. Noise, chaos, demands. But this time, I was different. I didn't rush. I didn't react immediately. I moved slower, spoke less, watched more. The kids noticed it too. "Why are you quiet?" the middle one asked. "I'm just tired," I said. That was true, but not in the way they thought. Around noon, my mom called. I looked at the phone and let it ring. She called again and again. On the fourth call, I finally answered. "Hello?" I said calmly. "Why didn't you pick up?" She asked quickly. "I've been calling you." "I was busy," I replied. There was a small pause. "Oh, okay. How are the kids?" "They're fine." Another pause. "Did you follow the schedule?" I almost smiled. "Mostly." "What do you mean, mostly?" she asked, her voice slightly sharper. "I mean, I'm managing." She sighed. "Please stick to the plan. It's important." Important, of course it was. Her plan always was. I took a slow breath. "Mom," I said softly, "when are you coming back exactly?" "In 10 days, like I told you." "Are you sure?" "Yes, why?" "No reason," I said. But there was a reason. I just wasn't ready to say it yet. She kept talking, giving more instructions, reminding me of things I already knew. This time I didn't interrupt. I just listened. But inside, I was already somewhere else. Not in that house. Not in that role. Somewhere free. When the call ended, I looked at my phone again. Then I opened the flight app. And this time, I didn't just look. I chose a date. 3 days from now. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. I clicked on the flight, filled in my details, paused for a second, then confirmed the booking. It was done. I sat there quietly, staring at the confirmation screen. No panic, no regret, just calm. For the first time since I arrived, I felt like I had made a decision for myself. Not for her, not for anyone else, just me. I knew there would be consequences. I knew she would be angry. I knew she would say things, but something inside me had already changed, and I couldn't go back. That evening, as I watched the kids play in the living room, I realized something important. This wasn't about revenge in a loud way. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to explain myself over and over. No. This time, my silence would mean something different, and my actions would speak for me. The next 3 days felt completely different. Nothing around me had changed. But I had. I still woke up early. I still made breakfast. I still helped the kids get dressed, cleaned the mess, followed routines. But inside, there was a quiet countdown. Every hour that passed was one step closer to leaving. And for the first time, I wasn't doing everything out of obligation. I was doing it on my terms. That made all the difference. On the second day after booking my flight, my mom called again. This time, I answered on the first ring. "Hi, Mom," I said calmly. She sounded relaxed, happy. "Hi, sweetheart. I was just thinking about you. How are things?" "Everything's under control," I replied. "I knew it," she said with a small laugh. "You've always been the dependable one." That word again. Dependable. It used to feel like something good. Now, it just sounded like a quiet way of saying, "You'll do whatever I need." I didn't respond to that. Instead, I asked, "Are you enjoying your trip?" "Oh, it's wonderful," she said, her voice lighting up. "The weather is perfect. We went out last night, and tomorrow we're planning a boat ride." A boat ride. I looked around the house. Toys scattered everywhere. Dishes in the sink. A small handprint on my shirt from the youngest one. 2 completely different worlds. "I'm glad you're having a good time," I said. And I meant it. Because in a strange way, her happiness made my decision easier. She wasn't worried about me. She wasn't thinking about how I felt. She was living her life, and now, I was about to live mine. Before ending the call, she said, "Just a few more days, okay?" "You're doing great." I smiled slightly. "Yes," I said. "Just a few more days?" That part was true, just not in the way she thought. That night, after the kids went to sleep, I packed my suitcase quietly. The same suitcase I had brought with excitement. I was now packing with clarity. I folded my clothes slowly, carefully. Not rushed, not emotional, just steady. Every item I placed inside felt like I was taking something back. My time, my choice, my voice. When I finished, I zipped it closed and placed it near the door. Ready. The next morning, I woke up before everyone else. The house was silent. For a moment, I just stood there looking around. This house held so many memories, some good, some painful, but none of them were strong enough to keep me here anymore. I walked into the kitchen and made breakfast like usual. When the kids woke up, everything seemed normal. They ate, they laughed, they argued. Just another day for them. Around noon, I called my aunt, the kids' actual mother. She picked up after a few rings. "Hello?" "Hi," I said calmly. "It's me." "Oh, hi. How are the kids?" "They're fine," I said. "But I need to tell you something." There was a small pause. "What happened?" "I'm leaving tomorrow." Silence, then confusion. "Leaving? What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm going back," I said simply. I wasn't told the full plan when I came here. I agreed to visit, not to take full responsibility for 3 kids for 10 days. She sounded surprised. "Wait, you didn't know?" "No," I replied. "I found out after I arrived." Another pause. Longer this time. "I didn't realize that," she said slowly. "I figured," I answered. I wasn't angry at her. This wasn't her decision. "I'm calling to let you know so you can make other arrangements," I continued. "I'll stay until tomorrow morning." She exhaled deeply. "Okay, I understand," she said. "I'll handle it." "Thank you," I replied. And just like that, it was settled. No drama, no shouting, just truth. That evening, my mom called again. I answered. "Hi," she said. "I just spoke to your aunt." "She said you're leaving?" Her tone had changed. Less relaxed, more tense. "Yes," I said. "Why?" She asked quickly. "What happened?" I took a small breath. "Nothing happened," I said calmly. "I just realized I wasn't told the truth before I came." "I was going to tell you," she said defensively. "When?" I asked gently. She didn't answer. Instead, she said, "You're overreacting. It's just a few days. Family helps family." There it was again. The same sentence. The same expectation. But this time, it didn't have power over me. "I understand that," I said. "But helping should be a choice, not something decided for me." "You're being selfish," she said, her voice sharper now. Maybe before, that word would have hurt me. Maybe before, I would have started explaining myself, trying to prove that I wasn't. But now, I just listened. "If taking care of myself is selfish," I said quietly, "then maybe I need to be selfish for once." There was silence on the other end, heavy, uncomfortable. "I can't believe this," she said finally. "After everything I've done for you." I closed my eyes for a second. That sentence, it had been used so many times before, to remind me, to control me, to make me feel guilty. But this time, I didn't let it sink in. "I'm not ungrateful," I said calmly. "But I also won't ignore how this made me feel." "You're leaving the kids alone," she said. "No," I replied. "I'm giving enough notice so they're taken care of." Another pause. Then she said something softer. Something different. "I just thought you'd understand." I opened my eyes. "I do understand," I said. "That's why I'm leaving." She didn't reply. For a moment, I thought the call had dropped. Then she said quietly, "You've changed." I thought about that. Maybe she was right. "Yes," I said softly. "I have." And for the first time, I didn't feel bad about it. The call ended soon after that. No goodbye, no warmth, just silence. But this silence felt different from before. It didn't feel heavy. It felt honest. That night I slept peacefully. No overthinking, no guilt, just rest. The next morning I woke up, got dressed, and closed my suitcase. When I stepped outside the house, the air felt different. Lighter. Like something had been lifted off my shoulders. I didn't look back immediately. I just walked forward, one step at a time, toward something that finally felt like mine. The ride to the airport was quiet. I sat by the window watching the streets pass by slowly. The same streets I used to walk as a child, now felt distant, almost unfamiliar. I thought I would feel sad, or maybe guilty, but I didn't. I just felt clear, for the first time in a long time. My mind wasn't full of what ifs, or maybe I should have. There was no second guessing, no doubt. Just a quiet understanding that I had finally chosen myself. When I reached the airport, I moved through everything calmly. Check-in, security, waiting at the gate. People around me were talking, laughing, hugging their families. Some were leaving, some were arriving. And for a moment I watched them, wondering what home meant to each of them. Because I realized something important. Home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's just a feeling, and I hadn't felt that in a long time. My phone buzzed in my hand. I looked down. It was my mom. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Then I answered. "Hello?" Her voice was different this time. Not angry, not sharp, just tired. "Did you reach the airport?" she asked. "Yes," I said. There was a pause. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," she admitted quietly. I leaned back in my seat. "I didn't think you'd put me in that situation either," I replied. Another pause. "Longer this time. I thought you'd understand," she said again, but softer now. "I did understand," I said gently. "That's why I couldn't stay." She didn't argue this time. She didn't call me selfish. She didn't try to control the conversation. Instead, she asked something unexpected. "Were you really that upset?" The question surprised me, not because of what she asked, but because of how she asked it. Like she was finally trying to see my side. I took a slow breath. "Yes," I said honestly. "Not just because of this, but because it made me realize something." "What?" she asked. "That I've been saying yes, even when I wanted to say no," I said. "For a long time." Silence. Then very quietly she said, "I didn't know that." I believed her. Not because she was innocent, but because she had never needed to know. I had made things easy for her. I had always adjusted. "I know," I said. "That's why I didn't argue before. But I can't keep doing that." There was a small shift in her tone. Something softer. Something uncertain. "I wasn't trying to hurt you," she said. "I know," I replied. "But it still did." Another pause. This time it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt real. "I should have told you," she said finally. "Yes," I said. "I just thought—" She stopped, then continued. "I thought you'd do it anyway." That was the truth. And hearing it out loud made everything clearer. "I probably would have," I admitted, "if you had asked." "Then why are you so upset?" she asked, confused. "Because you didn't give me the chance to choose," I said. That sentence stayed in the air between us, heavy, but honest. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I'm sorry." I closed my eyes briefly. Not because I was overwhelmed, but because I had waited a long time to hear that. And now that it was here, it didn't feel dramatic. It just felt quiet. "Thank you," I said softly. "I didn't think it was a big deal," she continued. "But I see now that it was." I didn't rush to forgive her completely. I didn't say everything was okay, because it wasn't that simple. But I also didn't hold on to anger. "I just need things to be different," I said. "They can be," she replied quickly. I didn't answer that right away, because change isn't something you promise in one moment. It's something you show over time. "My flight is boarding soon," I said instead. "Okay," she replied. Another pause. Then she added, "Will you call me when you land?" I thought about it. Then I said yes, and I meant it. Not because I felt obligated, but because this time, it was my choice. We ended the call shortly after. No tension, no pressure, just something new. Not perfect, but different. When my flight was announced, I stood up and picked up my bag. As I walked toward the gate, I felt something settle inside me. Not anger, not sadness, just balance. For so long, I had been the one adjusting, giving, bending, and maybe I would still care. Maybe I would still help, but not at the cost of myself. Not without being asked, not without being respected. I found my seat on the plane and sat down. As the plane started moving, I looked out the window one last time. At the city, at the place I once called home, and I didn't feel rejected. I didn't feel abandoned. I just felt ready to define things on my own terms. Ready to stop being the dependable one who never had a choice. Ready to be someone who chooses and is chosen. When the plane took off, I leaned back and closed my eyes. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. If this story made you feel something, if you've ever been put in a situation where your kindness was expected instead of appreciated, then you're not alone. Sometimes the quietest decisions are the strongest ones. If you connected with this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to YH Night Stories for more real and emotional stories like this.